I'm late to do this movie review.
Oh boy, yeah. It's time for a movie review. Today we are looking at Spider-Man 2, which is one of my favorite films. Out of 10, I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. I think it's a perfect movie. It has little to no flaws. If I had to pay to see it in theaters, this definitely would be a movie I would spend the money to see. Blockbuster classic, great action, big cast, big name director behind it, big producers behind it, fantastic music, and great writing. It's everything you're looking for in a superhero film, and more. So first, I want to talk about the opening of the film. It perfectly sets the tone of the film. Peter Parker, we end off on Spider-Man 1. What's next for Spider-Man after the first movie? Well, it turns out he's a poor, broke college student. He's struggling to make ends meet. It starts off with, an iconic and classic pizza time scene. And he's having to get to his job on time. He's late because he had to save someone as Spider-Man. And now he has to deliver this pizza. And if he's late, he'll be fired. And at first, he's like trying to just ride on his motorcycle. But then he has to become Spider-Man. And to try to get there fast in time, and everything's all fine and dandy, but then there's these kids that get in danger, and of course, as a good person and doing the right thing, he saves them. But in doing so, this cost him his job, and he gets fired. And this perfectly sets, in my opinion, the main conflict of the film. I don't think the main conflict is between Doc Ock and Spider-Man. Well, obviously, that's where the action comes from, but I believe the true and the best conflict comes from the conflict within Peter himself. Now, Peter, he isn't sure if he wants to be Spider-Man anymore. It gets in his way. He can't live a normal life. He can't be with MJ. He can't even hold the job. And he has to go to college. He's late. He's failing his classes. It's too much for him. But as he was taught in the first film, in that famous line, great power comes with great responsibility. And that's why I think the opening scene sets the tone and the whole conflict of the film greatly. And like I mentioned, the main conflict is within Peter, and we see this throughout the film. He's ragged on all the time. Nothing's going his way, and then MJ doesn't like him anymore. He can't make it to her plays. He can't make it to the 8 o'clock show. He doesn't know what to do anymore, and he's losing the love of his life. He's losing his life. That is when Peter makes the decision not to become Spider-Man anymore. And you have to think, this is crazy. A good quarter of the superhero film, is where Peter's not even the superhero. He's just a normal guy. And I think that is fantastic. It is brilliant. It showcases how Spider-Man is truly human. And in my opinion, Spider-Man is more about the man than the spider himself. Now, I want to talk about the conflict with Doc Ock. I think Doc Ock is great because he's an antithesis of Peter Parker. Doc Ock suffers through the same conflict. He has this great mind and great intelligence to use for mankind and to do the right thing, but a freak accident causes him to lose his mind, and now he's obsessed with finishing his research, and he doesn't realize that in doing so, he's endangering himself and others. And I think that just it's a good antithesis from Peter not wanting to be Spider-Man anymore because of all these things happening in him. And then Doc Ock, he's becoming a villain because he wants to finish this goal and he doesn't care about other people. And then now we're going to jump to the best scene of the film for sure, is that train fight scene. It's still one of the best looking train fights I have. Not train fights. It's one of the best looking fight scenes I have ever seen in a superhero film. It's beautifully choreographed. The stakes are high. You can feel them throwing the punches. And it's great because it comes right after Spider-Man comes back, after Spider-Man abandoning the city and crime going up, and Peter finally getting his redemption arc, and he's coming back to save the day. And guess what? He loses. he loses. He doesn't win, he loses. Unbelievable. After the build up, everything, he loses. It's crazy, it's bold, and it works. And I think one of the reasons why I really like this scene is because how everything works with it. I feel like a lot of times in movies, it just feels like things are just in action, especially the modern Marvel films, are just thrown together just to have an action scene. But in the train scene, everything is beautifully crafted. First off, the train is perfect for characters like Doc Ock and Spider-Man who move around a lot. Secondly, it limits where they can go and limits the battle, makes it more closer and more tight-knit and more close corners, more intense, especially with the people on the train, the civilians on the train who are fearing for their life, and Spider-Man's having to protect them. And then, of course, what adds it is the camera movements, the shakiness of the train. And then you can hear what's really nice, too, is the music. You can hear it sounds like a train going to do-do-do-do-do. It sounds like a train, and it all adds beautifully. And then we get the great scene of Peter, his mask comes off, and the people of New York City being okay and reassuring him that they won't say anything, and they realize that he's just a kid. He's just human, just like them. And it's just a beautifully crafted scene. And now we're going to jump further in the film or back. I can't remember if this scene takes place after or before the train scene. Is Aunt May. And this comes with the whole theme of the film. Is Aunt May saying, like, the whole monologue, I believe there's a hero in all of us, and that sometimes to do what's right, we have to give up what we want most, even our dreams. And what's beautiful about this comes back to play at the end, at the final scene with Doc Ock, the final battle. He realizes this, and he sacrifices his life to save the day. And I think just having that message and that message tying in everything, even at the end with the villain, it's really well done. I love it. I wish I would see it more. I think Spider-Man 2, if you haven't checked it out, the Spider-Man trilogy, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, Christian Dunst, is fantastic. It's great. I highly recommend it. He's the best Spider-Man by far, and I recommend checking it out. This is my movie review of Spider-Man 2 and my recommendation of Spider-Man 2. This is the seal of approval.